Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. The Monday medicated edition is here, and Grumpy is here. He's kind of grumpy because I am sick. Yes, so I'm under the influence of NyQuil, slowly wearing out of the body, I think. But it was definitely harder to get up this morning. I don't know what it is, but it really knocks you out. But hey, it helps you sleep. And Matush is in the house. And the prince is over medicated as well.
Yeah. I'm on steroids, muscle relaxers, and painkillers. So we're here. We're doing it. We're having a great old time. That's
So this is a goalie injury, or
yeah. So it was so stupid. You want the story? You want the real story?
of course I want the story.
All
Your
right.
microphone is rattling or something.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the last game of the night. It was we finished at about midnight, so it was like 11:58, right? We're down 1-0. There's a minute left. They play the ball back to me, and I just have a shit pass, like a Robert Sanchez terrible pass to your defender kind of thing, and I give it away. And I'm trying to make up for it right away, so I take a couple steps because he's right next to the goal. He takes a shot, and I dive. I outstretch towards my left side, and I land like that on my shoulder and then have my entire body weight kind of roll over it as well. And from that moment, I knew something happened. I just didn't know what. And so, I got up, we played the last minute. I went home, went to bed, and I was like, yeah, I'll sleep this off. It's fine. And I woke up, and it was probably the worst pain I've ever had in my life. So, I mean, I've been lucky to say that, but
I was gonna say,
yeah, we had to go to the urgent care, immediate care, whatever. They had to take X-rays, this and that, and so I tried to go to work that day, and I lasted about 2 hours before I went home. But yeah, so I've kind of been in and out for the last few days.
yikes!
But I made the save though. I made the save,
And that's all that matters, really.
And we still lost, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was freaking. Surgeon says, "Why wasn't your butler in goal?" Yeah, what the hell is he doing? Aaron, calm down, man. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna get to that. But yeah, no, I was like actually getting sick last week, and right about like actually Tuesday, because I woke up with it. I'm like, oh shit, it's coming. It got worse and worse during the day. Actually, I contacted Mecca. He hosted the panel show for me. But then I was like, oh, I beat it before it even happened. Bunch of orange juice and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, it's gone. I'm like, I made it. So it was like Thursday, Friday. On Saturday, it was like, nope, you didn't. Here I come. And yeah, sniffles and the whole works. So living on Dayquil and NyQuil for the most part and some Alka-Seltzer.
Are you aware of the Dwight Angela meme? Are you familiar with The Office at all?
Yes.
Okay. So there's that scene where Dwight.
Oh, the one where he just looks and it's just like
oh shit, yeah. So that's this the sickness for you. You're Dwight, and then the sickness is Angela, and you're like, okay, I beat it, and then oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, wow, damn it, and it's like a horrible time, Christmas rush and all that kind of stuff. But the weekend game didn't help, and then another stressful Fenerbahce game on Sunday to boot. So yeah, the weekend sports was not all that, but yes, it's way too. I knew like heads were flying yesterday because it went down to 2 points, even though we have a game in hand, and even though it is Chelsea. I mean, I don't know where you. I mean, did you get to watch the game live, or were you working?
I was working.
You were working.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So did you like record it or something, or how did you?
I watched the highlights. That's the best that I could do. Because then we had our big moving out day on Sunday. So I've just been or that was yesterday. So I've just not been.
Conveniently injured the shoulder during the move out.
Oh, yeah.
I will lift everything, but the shoulder. Like
the face that Michelle made when I came home Wednesday night after midnight and told her that I might be in trouble with pain. Oh, she was pissed. She was pissed. But we got it done. We had a lot of help, which was nice. But yeah, not great timing. But as far as the 2 points is concerned, we need to all get off the cliff. I mean, we knew that this wasn't going to be something that we're going to run away with. I mean, hopefully, it's the Premier League. It's still only December. Even a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about even if the lead is 11, 12 points, it's still only December. All it takes is a couple of results to go one way or the other way, and then you're back to where you started. So I think with the game in hand, obviously it helps. You can think of it as a 5-point lead if you'd like, just to maybe make yourself feel better if you feel bad. But we shouldn't be trying to jump off the bridges right now just because the gap is 2. I mean, there's still such a long way to go. Chelsea is as leaky as they can get, and Fulham isn't a bad team. Fulham is playing well this year, and we were down to 10 men. I think the fact that they fought back and got a result in the first place, we should just celebrate that fact and move on to the next fixture.
That was this was so weird because like on Saturday, we get, the red card, pretty much played the entire game, the red card. But it felt like when you watch that game, if you turn it on in the second half, you could not tell me one team was down to 10. And if I did tell you one team was down to 10, you might have guessed Fulham, because I thought, like people like Soboslai and stuff, which that's why he probably had to come out. But I think they were like working and running in basically like 2 men out there. And you did not feel that watching the game. And then on freaking Sunday, the opposite happens where Fenerbahce is playing. They're up 1-0. The other guy gets a red card. I can't remember. Maybe he got the red card and then the goal came or whatever. And the second half felt the opposite, where I was like, who's 10 for God's sakes? We're playing like they're playing better than we are somehow and shit. So, I mean, it's a lot of like efforts. I think, I don't agree with this. Like, nobody is winning every single game, Aaron. Yeah. It's just not happening. And
it's not a video game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It was probably too good to be true that we were up by 9 points, and it looked like we could run away with it. And if you think about it, if Chelsea doesn't have this recent form, we're still up like ridiculous because those guys are losing points as well. I think the reason I felt after the Newcastle game, that was more like points lost because of how that equalizer came in the last second with the Kelly error and stuff like that. This one did not feel like that. I was more, man, that was like a really good effort, and we almost won this thing, even though being a man down. But I think what softened the blow was, 1, Arsenal lost points. 2, the effort. I mean, we were down to 10 men, 1-0 down, and to show, I think, how we played gave me a lot of hope. And then seeing your boy Jota back and Elliott back in the fold, I was like, okay, and you get Konate back in action over here, and there was no McAllister, which we really missed. I mean, if that game turned into any game that turns into a basketball game, I feel like that's where you need McAllister. And we did not have him, and it kind of like showed to calm things down when things need to be calmed down. But so I took it as a point gain, not 2 points lost. But I know what Aaron is saying. On paper, when you look at this game, I don't know, a month ago, if I told you like this, like out of these 3 games, you're going to lose points on 2 of them, you would probably maybe say Newcastle away because St. James Park is a tough place to play, and then maybe Spurs away. This does make the Spurs game, I don't want to say must win, but now you can't really afford to lose points there. And if you watch that game, Aaron, if Adama Traore can like hit anything, he had 2 wide open chances to make the game 2-0. He doesn't. So Fulham doesn't put that game away, and then City come back, and City was not playing with 10 men. So let's just calm down. Okay, let's do it this way. To make you guys feel better, let's look at some people who are having worse because there's a lot of people having worse days than we are right now. Pep Linders gets fired. They did have, like, especially in Europe, World Run. I honestly don't follow them in the league, but I can tell you where they're at there, I guess, while we're looking at it.
They're not as high as
that. There was a lot of talk back in the day about him replacing.
Yeah, I think someone made the comment, always bridesmaid, never the bride kind of thing. Yep. Some assistants are great at assisting, and not every assistant is great at being the lead. And unfortunately, I think this is kind of what we've seen. He didn't do well as the head in Netherlands. He didn't do well as the head here in Austria. Obviously, he did great under Klopp, but you also had Klopp and you had a team of players that were just world class at every position. So it's kind of a tough thing to see, because obviously you want to root for the guy because we like the guy, and I know plenty of people wanted him to replace Klopp, but at the same time, we have to sit back and recognize that there are levels to this, and the FSG and Michael Edwards and the powers that be felt like he wasn't at those levels. And I think if anything, that is a good choice. Not only is that the fact that Slot has lost once in 20 plus games, but I think that's also evidence. I just think every news and media outlet in the world really missed the clickbait chances. All they should have written, and every headline, was Pep sacked. They should have just written Pep sacked. And every single person in the world would be clicking on every article they could possibly find. They go, what the fuck? Pep legit, like, that guy? I think that would have been the best part.
Yeah, look, when the conversations were there about Pep succeeding Klopp, and it was, even before Klopp said he was going to leave, it was a lot of like, do we want Gerrard or do we want Pep at the time? And I was on the Pep camp, and it was more about continuing what we have for one. And I felt like, he had a better relationships with the players themselves. And obviously Gerrard was going to come in from outside. And I kind of hate having ex-players, especially recent ex-players, where you can remember them playing, be the manager. Because, like I said, I really think it, clouds the judgments, because you can't you can't separate their player memories from what they're doing as a manager, kind of a deal. But so, I mean, here's the thing. It could be what you're saying, where he's a great assistant, but he's not the man. Which one do you think is more? Because you mentioned both of them. Like, it could be a portion of the first one. I really don't count, right? It's first time. He might not know what the hell is going on. And then he comes over here. He sits on the side and, watches Klopp in action and does his thing. Obviously, if you ask Thursday, anything negative came from Pep. But, or is it that you can only manage these guys, or your system can be implemented by top-notch players? So you can't take an average guy and plug him into your system and get the same thing, because it's very, very precise. Which one do you think is more when you look at what he did there? Because he did take some guys with him that I think, Bajcetic and Bobby and stuff like that. I think he was hoping that, they would help him like implement his way of thinking. But which one do you think is more, being the assistant thing, or your system maybe not suitable for just anybody out there?
I'm going to go with more of the former than the latter, only because it's not like Salzburg is a team that consistently struggles, that needed someone to bring them up. They're a team that consistently achieves and is top of the Austrian league year after year. So the necessary funds were there, the necessary ideas were there for him to implement. So I think it's just more of a case of just not being able to have that resonate throughout the rest of the team. Yeah, he brought in a couple guys that he liked and it didn't work. So I would say that that's part of the system not working, not necessarily part of not finding the players that don't work. So I think it's more of the first, in that he's a great asset to someone else, but he is not the best main person.
Yeah, and like I said, I talked about this before. I've seen a ton of really good assistants where they just become like really shitty managers because it looks easier. And then sometimes that's another thing. Like, if you're working under a good manager, sometimes things seem easier than they actually are. And then you're like, oh, this is pretty small. I can do this, kind of a deal. You're like, yeah, no, see, like, what I'm doing is, not to toot my own horn, but, that's how I used to roll back in the day. But how about this? I actually really like I was looking for like a headline to share, and then it went like, I found this. This is straight from the Wolves website. I like, because all the other ones were like sacked, fired, and they're like departs.
It was a cordial leave.
He has left the building, kind of a deal. I just watched a clip. It was like a short or something like that from his press conference last week, and he was kind of talking about, why it was going to take time and why things were not going well and stuff like that. And my initial thought was, this all makes sense to me and I get it. And you're right. But if I'm a player watching that, how is that making me feel? Because he's talking about, getting rid of all his talents, making $100 million of sales in the summer and stuff, all that kind of stuff. And then, it makes it sound like basically this is what I'm left with. It's going to take time. Like, I get it as a guy, as a Liverpool fan watching it. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you, man, because you're losing basically all your best guys and expected to do good. And then, but if you're in the locker room watching that, you're like, is he freaking serious? Like, we're trying over here kind of a deal.
Yeah, it's because it goes into the psyche of the players and it spreads across the locker room. And every single player there is thinking, my manager doesn't think I'm good enough. And then so you'll have two responses. One response is manager doesn't think I'm good enough. So the confidence is completely shot and you don't want to play. The other response is the manager doesn't think I'm good enough. Well, I'm going to prove him wrong. And you try and overdo and do more than you need to do as far as the team is concerned. And then you overdo it. And that's also not a good fit because we've seen times where players have tried to do too much by themselves, just even on the pitch, on a single counterattack or whatever the case might be, of them trying to do too much and how that negatively impacts the rest of the team. So you have both of those responses. And when you mix that all together, it's not going to end up being any good.
I think that's part of it. I mean, Sergio was talking about, Wolves are completely self-destructed 2 games in a row now that the players are, and that's a lot of frustration. You can kind of see from that team that they are frustrated. That it feels like they should be doing better, and probably, they should be. But Aaron is Mr. Negative this morning. I mean, I guess my question is, if you're making a case, if you take your emotion and fandom out of this, and you look at this from outside, which team in this title race looks
who is in the title race then, Aaron?
Yeah, right? I mean, if we're not in the race, like who's in the race? Because I think we saw yesterday that City is not in this race, right? I mean, if we're comparing our games versus City games, the United team that we hammered away at Old Trafford, and what a great day that was, by the way. The other day, the highlights were on, and I was like, we watched it as the American Scouts were petting zoo, and Edip was there and stuff like that. And they lost to them yesterday. So if we're doing that comparison, they lost. And I think the City is not going to make it. So City is not going to recovering. I think we were all maybe up to 3 weeks ago. I don't know where you're at with City, but up to 3 weeks ago, we were like, you never know. Some of those guys are there. They know how to win. They can go like 15 on the bounce and stuff like that. I mean, as far I think, yeah, they're out. Like, it's not going to happen. They're still a good team. They have the players, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't see that team having like a 15-game winning streak. The way they defend, I just don't see it happening.
There's too many nightmares and flashbacks to not consider City still. So they're still in the back of my mind. I think they
really.
Well, if the rest of the league has results that don't go well, right? Because I think this is one of the few years in the last 10 years that feel like it can be pretty wide open if a couple teams lose a couple more points here and there. Because we're only a few points away from it being, 3, 4, 5 teams within being the race. So, I mean, looking at that, it's hard to say that you consider them part of the race, but do you consider not Forest part of the race? Probably not, right?
So no, I mean, I consider, honestly, Arsenal, maybe. I don't think that the only reason I consider Arsenal is I feel like they're a piece or two away from making that, like a City-like run. Like if they go out and, I don't know, like sign somebody who can get him some goals, that's what they're saying. Because that's what happens when you're like a set-piece FC and you rely on corners, like hoping like you get more and more corners so you can get goals. Because really, you look at over there, I mean, I guess, we got to go back and look. I'm sure there's something out there, but 29 goals scored, I assume half of them are probably from set pieces.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? I mean, because any Arsenal goal you think of is from a freaking set piece. So that's why I feel like Arsenal, yes. Chelsea, I don't know, man, because of the goalie for one, and because of their youth, I think Aaron was saying it too. Like they have such a young team. I just don't see them going on this run for a long time or win any big games. The only advantage Chelsea has though is they don't have Champions League and stuff like that to deal with. They're just playing nobody midweek, so they're literally playing a different team midweek. So their Premier League side, which is really pathetic to say, by the way, but they play like one game a week. This is what I'm talking about, Nick. Thank you. Holy cow! Like Nick went all the way. Like he's giving every single prediction.
Forgot the Conference League, the most important one.
Yeah, we want the Conference League as well. They're probably like Chelsea. That should be an easier one, I think. But lots. I
just think if you want to go and dissect every single result, then every team in the top 6, 7 have bad results. And I mean, bad results. I still don't think this Fulham result was a bad result. It was one of the, it would have been a bad result had they lost 11-11. I think that would have been a bad result. But given the situation and the context of the game, having the point, I don't think it's not as as upsetting as it could have been. I get that you want to beat every team that you can, but it's also not a video game, and you've also only lost once in the last 5 months if you include preseason. Like, what else do you want from this team? Like, how can you be so upset right now and so down and say, oh well, we don't even deserve to win the title because we drew against Fulham with 10 men? Come on.
Yeah, and I think that was my thing. Like when the game was over, I was like, damn, man, we almost had him, even though, we were a man down and stuff like that. And yeah, it was hard to see that efforts and be like upset about it afterwards. But yeah, I like Nick's Lazio pick is an interesting one. By the way, if you're watching right now, I always forget to say this, but it is a huge deal if you guys give us a thumbs up right now as you're watching. And then grab a friend by the ear. We're at 994, almost at that 1,000 mark that we said by end of year, ideally for the Christmas gift. The American Scousers Christmas gift would be getting to the 1,000. But yeah, if you hit a thumbs up, goes a long way. Some other poor soul gets to see us first thing in the morning and serves them right for all B medication and stuff. Yes, I mean, this is, I guess, where I'm at. That felt like I wasn't angry, but I was more disappointed and bummed out from the Newcastle draw than I was this weekend, just because of how it came about, the goal we conceded, and the red card, the way we gave the red card. It was just like, And honestly, at that point, I did not think that game was going to turn out the way it did. It gives me a lot of hope. And honestly, the biggest thing that gives me hope is seeing your boy Jota out there, because he made that. I mean, I'm not only talking goal. Every involvement he had was just like everything he did became a danger and like a goal opportunity and stuff like that. So it feels like he's the most important piece up there to keep healthy right now. So he should not be anywhere playing except Premier League.
Yeah. Always love the guy. Always love the guy. Don't let anyone tell you differently. No, but that's the Jota that we need, that I love, right? I mean, that's the piece of him that I like. I think everyone gets this wrong impression of me not liking Jota. It's not that I don't like him.
I don't know why. Where is it coming from?
Because you guys keep twisting everything that I say. It's not that I dislike him. It's that I feel like he's gotten away with so much of just mediocre play. But because he's such a goal poacher and he's really good at finishing, we give him the benefit of the doubt. But there are plenty of times where he just disappears for the whole game and has no impact whatsoever. These are the receipts, Sir Z. These are the receipts that I'm talking about. And I always say, and I say this, you can go back and you can watch every show I've ever done about Jota and see that I don't hate him. I just think he gets away with if Nunez played the way that Jota did most of the time, Nunez would get a lot of shit that Jota does not get.
Not if he scored.
I don't know. I don't think so.
If Nunez plays the same exact game Jota does, even if he disappears for a while and comes in and scores a goal, I don't think he gets the hate, because then the hate is basically on him mainly finishing. And here's another thing. How dare you, by the way, compare it? Because here's what I don't like. This is what, when I compare the two, and I'm not a Nunez hater. I mean, I wish he would succeed. I really want him to succeed. You can't blame the effort. But what Jota brings to the interplay, and not to mention not being offside, I'll give Nunez that, though. He has fixed that for the most part this year. We don't have a lot. Maybe because we don't play as risky over the top constantly as well for him to be offside all the time. But what Jota brings in that sense is far superior than Nunez. Jota's press is far superior than Nunez. And I think those are like things that he brings. Like we said this, he's no Bobby. Nobody will ever be a Bobby. But, you know, if you compare, like, he's that piece, I feel like, that connects like the two wingers together, and he can kind of like slide left, slide right, and do whatever to create space in the middle. He kind of like does it all. So even when he's not doing a lot, or like you see him as disappearing, I still think he's contributing. Maybe not on the ball, but off the ball.
And I guess I just don't see as much of that contribution off the ball as much as you do. But at any rate, you guys, everyone on American Scouser has to have some sort of shtick, right? And I will follow.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're the dictator. What do you mean?
Oh, okay, like that. Okay. When you say shtick, I thought like you meant more like an agenda or something like that. Okay.
Yeah, you know, we've got Anan and Sobo. We've got me and Jota. That's all I've got.
Yeah,
Serzi and Mane.
Well, if you notice though, Anan was Nunez, and he took off like on one of the stops. He just jumped off. He's like, wait, I'm gonna catch the other line with the Sobo line. I'm just gonna jump on that.
I like to jump from train to train. Don't mind me.
Wait. When did you say this?
Oh my goodness! All right, here we go. This is not the time, Serzi. This is not the time.
He's only playing with one arm.
I can't look up the receipts because I can only type with one hand, and right now I can't get there fast enough. Okay, there may have been a time, a moment, a situation where that might have come out of my mouth. That's all I have.
But are you backing it or no?
I don't know. I'm split.
Really? No, not even close. I think, not even close in the sense that in terms of being all around. You can argue that Kevin De Bruyne's passing is better, for example. But when you compare the two, there's no way. In terms of being all around and like box to box and stuff like that, I don't think it's even close.
I mean, if I can set up an all-time Premier League midfield and you give me both Gerrard and De Bruyne, then I'll take them both.
If I don't give you both?
Depends on who else is on the team.
See, you're cheating now.
No, because if I got another guy that I can go box to box and I can have then De Bruyne have the space to use, then I probably edge that way. But it's not like I'm saying there's a miles difference between them. Look, I like Gerrard better. I will always like Steven Gerrard better. But I think there's moments that you could say that De Bruyne could fit a team better than Gerrard could. I feel like, I guess maybe it's the opposite.
Let me ask it this way. If you didn't know the rest of the team, if you have like the first midfield pick, if you will, like I'm going to build the midfield around this guy.
Yeah.
Who would you start with? Because between the two, I would say Gerrard, because you're covering. Because if you pick De Bruyne, like, well, now I got to get a really defensive-minded guy. You know what I mean? Wait. How is this possible, by the way? I like took a peek in the comments over here, so we're gonna have to put Nick on the spot over here. Nick, you can't give me the I support the national team thing that we get. There has to be a team that you kind of right? I mean, is that even possible? Even
He,
like sports that I don't really follow, I kind of find myself liking the team more psychologically.
yeah, I suppose. I'm trying to think of the other sports that I don't necessarily follow to see if I still like them.
Like, okay,
I guess,
hockey, for example. Like, I don't follow hockey, but I know when Jasmine was a baby, and she was colic. And if anybody has ever had a colic baby, and we almost killed the doctor, that's a whole story I can tell for another like 5 days before he gave us this magic potion that you can give your baby, and then it solves all problems. But when you're a first-time parent, the doctors don't buy, like they think you're panicking or whatever,
sure.
so they don't give you that shit. They're like, "Oh, it's just a baby." It's like, I know it's a freaking baby, but it doesn't stop crying because it's colic kind of thing. But anyway, so like, we would like lay down, like he would have to have like watch TV or whatever while she falls asleep, and it was like the hockey playoffs or something. So I started watching a lot of hockey back then. So this is like 25 years ago or whatever. And I have at that time Colorado Avalanche was a good team, and they were in the playoffs or whatever. So I kind of became like, if I turn on the TV and they're playing, I'm rooting for Avalanche to win. Let's put it that way. I'm not looking to see what did Colorado do yesterday. I couldn't care less. But if I turn the TV on, if they're on against anybody else.
That was it Patrick Waugh and Joe Sakic? Yeah. Those, I used to be way more into hockey than I am now. I couldn't tell you 5 guys in the league right now, but like the late 90s, early 2000s, I watched a ton of it. And that Avalanche, because I also like the colors too, and the logo. Because sometimes you gravitate towards colors and a logo and something. And yeah, Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, that was a fun team to watch.
So okay, let me ask you this. Yeah, this is typical Monday show over here. So we're gonna go from jump to jump and miscellaneous topics because we'll do a cycle analysis. How is this happening? I gotta hang out with Nick for a little bit and find out how this works. But there are games where, even like in a World Cup or something like that, because it's soccer, I'm gonna watch it, right? So I might turn it on. I don't know how you are. There are games where you start neutral, but like I'll be like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch it, and then by the 15th, 20th minutes, you're like, fuck these guys. You're like, I want these guys.
Yeah. And it's usually after some ridiculous dive or some sort of antics that you're looking at going, what is going on? What is he doing? Like let's say it's, England is playing, maybe I'll say Spain. I don't know, because I feel like I'm fairly neutral on both of those. But and let's say Kyle Walker goes down the same way he goes down yesterday, after, I don't know, maybe Lamine Yamal like touches his forehead and he goes down crying. I'm like, yeah, fuck England. Like that's all for Spain kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like they can be screwed on a call, or like I find a player annoying on one team, so I shift towards the other team. But yeah, that's why I like watching it as a total neutral is kind of like very difficult. But definitely, as Sir Z says, definitely better for health. I would think if you can just like relax and watch.
Doesn't that seem like it's such a boring life though? You never have enough emotional investment. You don't want to get destroyed in a weekend, Nick. You don't want the rest of your week feel like shit because your team played like absolute ass. You don't want that. You gotta live, man.
But there's the flip side too. There are like times where you're like, it makes your day. Or it's the highlight of the day, at least that went and stuff like that. So that's the thing though, like then you can celebrate as well. So you got to take the good with the bad or bad with the good, whichever way you look at it. But I mean, you're gonna have to suffer. Those suffers actually is what makes the winning more enjoyable in some ways, because you've suffered before.
Well, as long as the suffering leads to winning, because some people have never experienced winning, depending on who you support.
That's true. That's true. And that's when it gets. See, I think in American sports, people just tune it out a lot easier. Mm-hmm. Like they know, I don't think it works like that as much with soccer, unless, I mean, I don't know, like that's why I feel like the panel show was very interesting. Like when you talk to somebody like Alex or Fulham and stuff like that, where it is a different mindset. But I mean, I grew up obviously a Fenerbahce fan, due to my grandfather and stuff. The whole family is. and it's a team that plays. I mean, if you don't win the title, it's not a good season, you know.
Yeah.
And then like Liverpool went through a lot of. I mean, like when I obviously like started following them, they were that team like 80s and stuff like that. But then obviously it has been some like miserable years. But you still follow them. This expectation is still there, or the want is still there. I feel like in American sports, sometimes you just look. You already know, like before the season starts. Yeah, this not gonna. We're not gonna. They're not gonna do shit this year. So you don't. You can even like tune them out. Like, let's say I don't know. You're like a Carolina Panthers fan or something like that. Before the season even started, you just knew they weren't gonna do shit. So you can be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll start watching again next year. You can totally tune it off. It feels like, and because the rosters change so much, you can't tune it out because it's almost like watching college. Like there is no like, oh, this guy is gonna be great. Whereas I feel like soccer, the rosters are a bit more like constant. So even if your team is out of it, you can kind of watch and say, oh, that young guy is going to be good. Next year, he has the right wing, blah, blah, blah. Or am I just kind of like too simplifying?
No, I will disagree a little bit because I do think there is development in the other sports here. It just, we don't see it the same way because baseball has the minor league, the NBA has their affiliate as well. And I think also with the NBA that the roster is much smaller, right? I mean, you have 12 to 15 guys max, so it's hard to really get that sort of consistency there. I think the fact that there's only one thing you can win each year is what makes people make it easier to turn off. Because if you're someone in the middle of the pack and you're not going to make the playoffs, then there's nothing else. There's no other competition. There's no other trophy. Then what you want your team to lose, because you want your team to win the lottery for the best draft pick. That's the problem, is that there is no incentive. There's an incentive for losing as much as there is an incentive for winning. So I think the people who are the most affected by this are the people who support teams that are always meddling in the middle. They're never good enough to win. They're never bad enough to get a top pick and change the course of their franchise or whatever. So I think that's the problem, is that there is an incentive to win and lose, and there's no incentive to be in the middle. But yeah, it is easier, I think, here for people to turn it off too, because it's not as ingrained within the culture. I mean, obviously sports has a huge culture in the States, and I'm not trying to say it doesn't, but not in the same way that it's ingrained in the culture around as soccer is around the world and other countries in the culture.
Yeah, because I mean, really, growing up back home, it is all like soccer. I mean, soccer is 90%. I mean, Fenerbahce, for example, so Aaron is a Fenerbahce fan too when it comes to Turkish teams. So I already like Aaron more. But like
he likes Real Madrid.
So here's the thing. Like I remember becoming you got all over the place here. See, growing up, like as a kid, I'm talking like kid. Like I followed, like you had as somebody like I grew up in Istanbul. You kind of, dude, there's like animals fighting in the background. You think you need to like?
No,
is there cats in there too as well?
There's 2 dogs and my niece who is 2 years old. So
she's the cats. She's the one that's
she's the one. She's the one hissing and scratching. Yeah.
But anyway, so like, when you watch European soccer, like as somebody growing up in Turkey, like you kind of have, Spain is on. Yeah, I like Madrid better than Barca. Like it's almost like I have to make you pick, right? You're watching Italian soccer. I grew up watching that ridiculous Juventus team, and I loved, watching that team with your Polish boy Boniek was in there, for example. But Platini, Rossi, all those guys, like Maldini. I mean, not Maldini. What the hell was that, dude? I could like back in the day, I could give you the entire like starting 11 of that team because I used to like watch them all the time. Bonini, I think, was one of the dudes. So like you could like kind of like watch that and you kind of rooted for them. But as you got older, they started playing. You started seeing them play against teams like they were playing Fenerbahce, and then like when I started watching like Liverpool, like back in the '84, they played. So then you had to pick sides, and once you pick sides, then it gets like perfect example. Growing up, since the Turkish national team sucks, right? In these bigger tournaments, most of Turkey, because of the flair and stuff, you usually rooted for like South American teams like Brazil and stuff. I grew up wanting Brazil to win. once we played them a couple of times in the World Cup, I'm like, fuck these guys. I'm not going to root for them, kind of a thing. So it becomes that. And I think like your fandom kind of changes. So I don't know, like Madrid and Spain. See, that's the thing. It would be very difficult. Kazi always asked me like who I would root for when Fenerbahce played Liverpool, and I'm like very undecided because part of it is kind of like how you like kind of grew up and stuff, and Fenerbahce is rarely gonna be there. I would almost feel like like if it's a final, I hate to say it, I might want Fenerbahce to win because that would be a once in a lifetime thing. Whereas I would think Liverpool will be there back again the next year,
unless it's like a Conference League final. I guess that would be rough for either side. I think I would say that when I was a kid, I would find myself watching teams because I liked certain players more than I liked the team. Like I remember.
That's so American of you.
Well, yeah, but because I liked Liverpool, though, I would look to other players, and I really like Nedved, for example. I loved watching Nedved, and then I really liked watching Beckham. I mean, I'll be honest, I got a Beckham jersey when he went to Real, because it wasn't a United jersey, A, and B, I still just really liked him. And so I had those moments, like Wesley Sneijder for me, I really liked too. Yeah, it was just I went through phases of
Have you seen Wesley Sneijder lately? He looks like he ate the younger Wesley Sneijder.
I know. Not all of us have nice falls from grace, okay, Dimitri?
Yeah, because I do, yeah. I would know, yeah.
No, but and I did support. No, I didn't support Liverpool for Steven Gerrard. I supported Liverpool for Liverpool. That's what I supported. Damn it! I think everything got taken out of context. We can go back. We can go watch it. I think I said that Stevie G is better.
Yeah, I started watching with the spaghetti legs. We were talking about it on like a show I showed. I mean, that's basically how I started watching Liverpool. I mean, you didn't get access growing up as much to European, but then obviously, I started like following them. But then when I went to like London for college and stuff, obviously then you're close now. You can really follow them and stuff like that. And my best buddy ended up being a dude from Liverpool, of all things. So like that's when I'll be honest, like I did not know. Because we didn't have internet back in the day, like Google. So, like, I did not know about the cultural side and all that kind of stuff of Liverpool until I kind of came to London. I'll be honest, because like back home, it was a team. You did not understand like the city, the history, and all that other kind of stuff that goes along with the club. And I think that honestly, a lot of American fans, I feel like when they don't know, part of me says, "How do you not know?" But is it unfair for me to say that because there is the internet now, so you can find that stuff out a lot easier. Like all I could do was open up like the Encyclopedia of Britannica or some shit, look at Liverpool Football Club if I wanted to research it. So you did not get exposed to it. Whereas there are a lot of fans in the US that maybe kind of like could be like you, really liked watching Bobby or whatever, or like Mo or something like that. And they don't really understand what the club stands for otherwise.
Yeah, especially if you call yourself a fan of the club. I think it's different if you consider yourself a fan of the sport and you're kind of just watch here and there. But if you're going to be a fan of a club, it's hard these days to take anyone seriously that doesn't know at least a little bit of the history and understand what the context behind the culture of the club in the city is. Because you have that at your fingertips. It's just laziness, I think, or naivety. And either way, not necessarily great traits when you're trying to flaunt around being a fan. Especially it's the most annoying when it's the ones that are trying to be the loudest on these internet forums or whatever the case might be, or to show their true Liverpool colors in this way or that way, and not knowing. I think there was, what was it? Was it last year or something? I think you were there. It was, I don't remember if it was the Chicago page or if it was the US page, but someone was talking about how big of a Liverpool fan they are. And then they asked about the 97. And they're like, what does that even mean? And you're sitting there and you're like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Like, what the fuck?
I thought you were the biggest fan.
Yeah. And those are the ones where I get really upset. Now, the exact, who were we facing that day? If you don't know that, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not like that's, but not to know what that number means at all. That's alarming if you consider yourself a fan.
Yeah, I think that's more alarming when you don't look at like the politics of it. I kind of maybe semi understand. One, you don't get that here by design, because they're all like, all the teams are designed around making money. They're basically businesses. So as a business, they don't want to show, they don't want to show that they lean one way or the other or whatever, right? For the most part, so that they don't alienate anybody, because they want you to buy a jersey and they want the other guy to buy a jersey, kind of a deal. So so over here, people are more like, oh, I get away from politics by following sports. Sports is way out for me and stuff. But when it's not like that in Europe, it's not like that in like England for sure. Like you can Liverpool. It's not like that in Turkey right now. If you look at it, I mean, I see comments about Mourinho and stuff like that. Mourinho is still Mourinho. I mean, he's like, the way, like, that dude is so freaking smart, dude. His press conferences and stuff like that are just freaking like gems. How he can kind of like say certain things and send messages and shit like that. But there's a lot of politics behind the scenes, especially in the Turkish league, like who controls what and stuff like that. A lot happens behind the scenes. So I think it's totally different in Europe. But I think in some ways, I think, over here in the US, people say, oh, sports is a way out of politics for me, so I don't get involved with that. That's one reason. But I think, and this is when it's not naive, it's by choice, that they say that knowing, oh, fuck, I ended up supporting a team that's actually going totally opposite what my politics are. I'm not going to fess up to that. It's too late, because it's kind of hard to change from that team now. So I'm going to say, I see them totally differently. I don't see politics and sports kind of a deal.
Yeah. And I think we see that a lot in some of the comments in those Facebook groups when certain topics get brought up. Yes. And it's a constant cycle of you expect to see it at that point. Yes, I think I agree with both of those points. Absolutely.
Yes, Galatasaray is playing Trabzon, for example. Trabzon will bend over and wait, because that's what Trabzon does, because that's how kind of like those things roll back home, unfortunately. I would love to be surprised, but it's not going to happen. So Wednesday, right? The game is Wednesday. I mean, having seen these guys back, let me ask you that. I mean, do you want a full-blown rotation for a Southampton team that just got freaking smashed yesterday, by the way? Like, I didn't watch it, but I was looking on the phone. I was like, holy cow. When I saw 3-0, and then I was like, oh my God, it just started. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was the earlier game, kind of a deal. But yeah, they just looks like, I didn't watch the game, but looked like Spurs were like, you know what, we'll just take it easy.
So did you see Russell Martin? Obviously, Russell Martin got sacked, right, after the game.
Yeah. But I forgot to put that up, yes.
Did you see what he did before halftime?
No.
He went into the tunnel. He left before the half even ended. He was just, it really much looked like, fuck this shit, I'm out kind of thing. And he just walked down the tunnel. There was still at least 20 seconds left before the half even ended, and he's just gone. And I thought he might not have come back for the second half out there. That would have been funny. He's like, you know what, I'm just done. But obviously he came back, and what happened. As far as your rotation question, would I love to see a big rotation? Yes. Are we going to see a big rotation? Probably not, considering what Slot has done. But I guess we're always in for a nice surprise. So I'm hoping to see, maybe like I would love to see Chiesa and Elliott out there. I know you just said trying to protect Jota and put him in bubble wrap, but yes, I would throw Jota out there as well, just to get some more minutes in those legs, just so that he's got a little bit more time, back into the game speed of things.
I'm torn on that one, because I agree he needs minutes, but I don't want him out there. I would rather have him come, like basically what we did this weekend. Have him and Chiesa come in and play like 20, 30 minutes and stuff like that. Nothing that's going to be like a setback or some crap like that. We just can't afford to have that right now. San Nunez at him. San Nunez at Southampton and like the last 20, 30 minutes, get Jota minutes so that he can start against Tottenham. Like I would basically give him enough minutes so that I can say you can start against Tottenham because I would rather have, in some ways, I don't know, that I'm kind of torn on that too, because the way their center backs are and the way their line is so high. Nunez on paper, see, this is the problem I have with Nunez. On paper, you would say Nunez, right? If you're playing Football Manager, I'm putting Nunez there with his speed. I can just dip the ball over the top. He'll go chase it all the time. But we know that half the time he would be off if we played like that. Not to mention, that's not how Slot plays.
Yeah, I would just tell him to just sit behind the halfway line and just start running from the halfway line, so you're never offside ever. Because he can beat those defenders, especially if Van de Ven is still out. There isn't much speed left. I think Romero might be out as well, right? That back line is
Romero's gone, Van der
thinning and thinning. So I see the point with the speed, but you could also argue if you really want the speed, you could still throw Gakpo and Diaz at them.
Yeah.
It's not that Diaz is slow at all, right? And Gakpo, he's not necessarily the fastest, but he's quick. You know, there's a difference between being fast and being quick. And Gakpo turns really quickly and turns well, pivots well, and can make movements really well. It's just that, you know, if you're going straight line, he's probably the slowest out of Diaz, Nunez, and Mo. But if we're talking about on the ball and being able to move and make decisions, he's going to be one of the quickest.
Diogo, I want to hear you say Diogo. No? Can't bring yourself to say Diogo? No. Such a big Jota fan, yes. I don't know. See, here's what I'm talking about. By the way, Nioni, Norris now, and Dan's, they did not play for the U21s today. That almost guarantees, I think, they're going to be on the bench or involved or whatever. I mean, this is the advantage you have in these cups as opposed to the Champions League, because you do not submit a squad like the same way that you do for these. So you can play these kids and stuff like that. So I feel like you take advantage because you can't rotate. We're like, oh, just don't play anybody in the Champions League. That you have to, like, somebody has to go out there that you're like registered to play in the Champions League. But in this case, you can. But would you be upset, especially Aaron of all people, for example, Aaron, you know, like complaining about, you know, our run and stuff like that, people already on the ledge, will getting eliminated from this cup, even if we throw kids out there, would bring more people out to the ledge to join Aaron, for example, as opposed to.
Yeah, if people are upset now at this team being first and losing one game in the last 5 months, then yeah, a loss against Southampton throwing kids out there is going to piss a lot of people off. And that's why you have to avoid some of these online forums whenever a rough result happens, because these people go from 0 to 100 way too quickly and don't realize the context of a long season where you're playing every 3 days. So yeah, do I want to see the kids? Absolutely. Do I think winning with the kids would be great? Absolutely. Do I think losing with the kids would be disastrous? No, but I can see how that could be the opposite for some people.
Dude, what? See, I don't know. I would be bummed when we go out of these cups, and I've said this before, I'm more bummed for the guys that would get some minutes. That's why I'm more bummed. I mean, I'm kind of Aaron with this, but then again, we talk about like trophies. Look at Ten Hag, you know, he was a trophy winner. I mean, so we talk about trophies. You want to have something to show at the end of the season, having like great runs and stuff like that. See, I know FA Cup has a more of a history and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know. To me, maybe because I'm not British, they're the same value to me. I don't put winning the FA Cup over winning the League Cup. Where are you with that, by the way? Maybe we're not as connected, you think? Because FA Cup is a lot more valuable, means a lot more. But like not to me, for example, I see them as the same.
If you're doing a domestic double, I think the league plus the FA Cup weighs more than the league plus the Carabao Cup. So for me, I value the FA Cup more.
But that's because of like FA Cup's like historic thing. Otherwise, it's really like it's the same teams in it.
Well, same teams plus many others. I think I appreciate the FA Cup more because of the chance of those, not for the context of Liverpool specifically, but the chance to see those Cinderella stories of some of those teams being able to climb their way into the fourth round, into the quarterfinals, even playing from League Two, because you don't get League Two teams in the Carabao Cup.
Okay.
So I think it's just maybe it is.
What you mean in terms of the Cinderella thing? But I'm not like I don't like the Carabao Cup. We don't get to play League Two teams. You know what I mean? I couldn't care less.
That's what I said.
By the time we get to it, I mean those guys are battling right now playing the FA Cup.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
None of them are gonna make it to us, and they might make it to us, and all get like the income from like this, like the fans, the stands, and might save them for 5 years or whatever. But aside from the cuteness of that, I'm like,
yeah, I mean, that's what I said.
Even the Carabao Cup means something for the English. I know, like it means. It's not like you're like, if you take the Carabao Cup, you're giving the league away or anything like that. But I would rather rotate and do what you can in the midweek Carabao Cup, as opposed to, not that rotation guarantees you're going to win the weekend, but it gives you the best chance to winning over the weekend.
I guess depending on who plays.
I mean, regardless. I mean, basically, if you're Slot, you can kind of sit down and say, this is who I want facing Spurs. And based on that, now I'm going to make the lineup for Southampton.
Right. Yeah, that I agree with. Maybe I misunderstood the first part.
I mean, that enables you to do that.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Doesn't guarantee that who you pick to play Spurs are going to beat the Spurs, but it gives you the best chance because in your mind, you're playing your ideal people against Spurs over there. FA Cup is way better than, somebody explain to me why. Apart from, if you don't take the history and the context and all that kind of stuff out, like you said, the Cinderella stories, I guess maybe it doesn't do it for me. Like, I know exactly what you're saying, and it is, cool to
It's the magic of the FA Cup. Everyone talks about it.
Everyone talks about it, but I don't get it.
I don't see the magic.
I don't see the magic. I mean, speaking of magic, Mickey Mouse, Disney magic. Yeah, Slots can't even be at the game on Wednesday. So
Pep.
Yeah, Nick is asking who's going there. That's why he's like, fire me. I gotta go coach the League Cup over there. Yeah, who is our assistant? Like, that would do the press conferences and stuff. Like, because we knew Pep, and I mean, here's the thing though. I mean, we knew Pep, but we knew Pep after like quite some time. It's not like we knew Pep right away.
Right. So he earned his reputation.
Because because Slot did the press match, the pre-match press conference and stuff last round, didn't he?
Yeah. So it's either going to be Sipke Hulshoff or John Heitinga. That'd be fun.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I think John did the pre-match conference last time, if I remember this right. And that could be for like language purposes too, because he's been there forever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody give us. Well, here we go. Let's see. No, I don't see any images of him doing it, and Google is really slacking. Yeah, I don't see any. Maybe it was Slots. So if anybody remembers it, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I understand the history of it, but like the history of it, I guess maybe because, like I say, I am not British, it doesn't have as much of an effect on me in terms of making it more important. I know it's more important. I know it's the league, FA Cup, League Cup, or Carabao Cup. I mean, that's another thing. The League Cup is not all that, but the name constantly changes. But still, I know that. But it should be the Milk Cup back in the day. Good old days.
Yeah, it'll be Sipke Hulshoff.
Sipke Hulshoff. We'll get to meet and listen. I don't think, I've heard, aside from like watching some of these videos, like behind the scenes and training and stuff like that, I don't think I've ever heard one of the other guys speak. I know Tuffarel, like with like Ali and stuff like that. I've heard them, but I do remember this.
You're lying.
What?
You do remember it? Or are you kidding?
No, I remember it.
Didn't Origi and Minamino score in that game? Or
Yeah, I
one
think
of
it
those
was
two?
like a bunch of kids. They like just held their hands, like how they like lead them out there, and then some of them got to stay on the pitch and play, and, and the little ones go back in. The bigger, taller ones stay. We're gonna play, kind of thing. So he says don't care about the domestic cups anymore. Grew up when the FA Cup was important. Now I couldn't care less. Yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at. It's not that I don't care about them. I do want to win them because I think at the end of the season, it's something to show for your season for players as well. And there's something to be said about, getting used to winning and building a winning tradition and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it didn't pay off for United and all that kind of stuff, but it does adds to the team. I mean, look at, as Klopp was building things, it was, trophies along the way that eventually gets you the Champions League title, Premier League title, and stuff like that. But okay, here we go. European Cup, League, Club World Cup. Club World Cup. Dude, I would not even have that anywhere on my list. I'll be honest with you.
Lower than
to the point where if you ask me to make a list, I would not even think of it to put it in the list. Like personally, make your list. I put
the league first.
Yes, I put the league first as well.
Unless we've won like 6 in a row and haven't won a Champions League, then that I think that could change year to year depending on the situation of the team. Put the league first, then the European Cup, and then the FA Cup, and then the League Cup, and then the Super Cup.
Okay, say that again. League, European Cup,
FA
Cup,
League
Cup,
Super Cup / Club World Cup, whatever.
Okay, Charity Shield. No, I think when we did that, they played Villa and got smashed.
Yeah.
You're thinking two different games. When it was all kids, because they wanted to go, like the Brazilians pushed Klopp to go to the Club World Cup. And I want to say we played Villa and it was 4-0 or 5-0 or something like that. I know what Uncle Google says, but I'm pretty sure that's what that final score was. I don't think we got a goal or anything like that.
I don't know. I see right now that popped up. We had Kelleher in goal, Vandenberg, Nico Williams, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott. It seems fine. Yeah, it is all kids technically, but this is the 1-0 February 4th, 2020. Is that what he's referring to? I don't know.
I think that's what he's referring to, but that's not the game where everybody was at, because this is the game where everybody was at, and we played nothing but kids, because everybody else was in the Club World Cup that you're so big on, Aaron. Like they were over there because the Brazilians pushed for it, because we had a choice. And this is why I don't care about cups, because them telling us, well, you're going to have to put out a team over there to play either way, tells me that the FA doesn't give a damn about the League Cup when they say, well, I don't know, anybody in the kitchen who can come out and play? Sure. You've got to get somebody out there. Tells me they don't care about the Cup, so why should I care about the Cup is, I guess, my thing. So, okay, so Monday, grooming day. Right? Or with that shoulder, I don't know what are you doing? Like laying on the other shoulder all day or what?
Yeah, doing absolutely nothing. We're grabbing the last of our clothes from the house and yeah.
I mean, Michelle is grabbing the rest of the clothes from the house.
Well, I can use my right hand still. It's fine.
Yeah, I can see, like, if I was Michelle, I would be very suspicious about the timing of this injury.
Trust me when I say I would have preferred many other kind of injuries than this one, because you don't realize how debilitating a shoulder injury is until you have one, because I couldn't even dress myself. I didn't realize how many muscles are connected up here throughout. And it sucks.
My right shoulder is jacked up to the point where I actually had to go to physical therapy or whatever, but I'm just too lazy to do.
Yeah,
but I mean, like nothing like yours. It's just like, it doesn't bend in all the ways that the other one does. But
this is how high I can lift it up right now.
Oh, really? No. I can. Mine is not that bad. But here's what when I went to the referee thing. So like they train you for the center, they train you for the lineman and stuff. And then, they were like, you got to lift it up, like all the way up and stuff like that. And offside. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is all the way up, bro. Like this is all the way this arm is going right now. You're going to have to deal with it. And yeah, I realized then, especially like when you flip the flag or whatever, I'm like, yeah, this is not going to be
that sucks.
Fun. That's for sure. Okay. So no grooming, resting. I'll be working, unfortunately. But I should be back tonight, hopefully. With some more medication, I can survive all the way till this evening. 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern with Gally and Bickler. We'll do the Monday nights. We'll do trivia. We'll play some trivia songs again. Wow, good times. Good times were had by all. But so do join us then. If you have not done so already, thumbs up, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Help us get to this 1,000. Drag a friend and said, go subscribe to these guys. They talk about the Colorado Avalanche's colors. And there's a guy over there who hates Jota. Just tell him that. So bring every Jota fan over here to lay the hate on Matoush over here. And, Steve Gerrard versus Kevin De Bruyne debates as well. So get him going. Whatever clickbait Matoush to bring people over on a Monday morning. But you have great times with your shoulders or shoulder. And then I'll see you guys tonight. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.